Welcome to the Freedom Ticket 4.0. My name is Kevin King, and I'm going to be your instructor for the next several hours as I teach you everything you need to know to sell on Amazon. Now, this is a free course that's part of the Helium 10 membership. Since you have a Helium 10 membership, you're entitled to go through this course totally free. We used to sell it. There's a lot of people that sell courses like this out there, but we wanted to give you the best chance of success using the best tools on the market. And so that's why Helium 10 has prepared this for you. Now, you may be wondering, how am I involved with Helium 10, or how did I get here? I have known the founders of Helium 10 since they began the company back in like 2015, 2016, something like that. The original two founders who have since moved on to other ventures were buddies of mine. They're still friends of mine. And so we created a partnership where I came in and I do this training for them. I don't actually work for Helium 10. I'm not part of Helium 10. But I do all the training, including this basic training, the Freedom Ticket that you're in today, as well as the advanced training called Helium 10 Elite, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Now, this course, this is the fourth version of this course. We did the first one in 2017, and it's been voted several times as the best course on how to sell on Amazon. There's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of different ways that you can learn how to sell on Amazon, but I believe the fundamentals and the core is what you really need, and that's what we're going to focus on, because a lot of people, they just get into the sexy stuff. They just go straight for it. Here's how you pick a product. Here's how you source it on Alibaba, and you're going to make a lot of money. But if you don't have the core principles and the core fundamentals of the business and how things work, your chances of success go way down. And so that's what we want to focus on in this course. Now, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been selling direct to consumer since I don't know when, back before there was an internet. I was selling stuff before Google existed. I started selling on Amazon in 2001. I started doing the FBA model in 2015, which is what we're going to be talking about today, where you're sourcing products and selling using the marketplace of Amazon to sell. I have my own websites. I still sell to this day. A lot of people that are out there teaching you no longer sell. You got to be careful with that, because stuff moves really quickly in this industry and things change quite a bit. So I'm actually still selling. I do 7 figures a year selling on Amazon. I also host the AMPM podcast, which is one of the top podcasts, along with the Serious Sellers podcast that Bradley Sutton does in this space. I also host an event called the $1 Billion Seller Summit, which is a high-end summit that we do twice a year, once virtually and once in person, for very successful sellers on all the latest tactics. So I have my pulse to the ground. And I really know what's going on. I speak at a lot of events. I've spoken probably at 50 or 60 different events all over the world. Been on literally hundreds of podcasts. And I also have probably the top-rated newsletter in the space called $1 Billion Sellers, which comes out twice a week and keeps you up to date on the latest news and tactics and information in the Amazon space. So I know a thing or two, and I know what I want to share with you to give you the best chance of success. And the reason I got into this, you may be like, "What, Kevin, why are you, if you're such a successful seller, why are you doing this stuff?" And it all started many years ago when I was looking on Facebook and people were posting, asking questions, new sellers, and they were getting the wrong information. And it still happens today. People post the wrong information, and it irritates the heck out of me. And there's people that are inexperienced, or people that are just trying to make a buck, or people, honestly, a lot of times, that just don't know, and they think they know. And it starts getting parroted as a truth. So that's why I do this, is I want to help give back. One of my number one motivation in this is giving back to people. There's nothing that pleases me more when I go to an event like Sell and Scale that Helium 10 has done, or another event in the space, and someone comes up to me and taps me on the shoulder and says, "You don't know me, but my name is John. And my wife's name is Susie, and we watched your course 3 years ago, and now we're doing $50 million a year selling on Amazon." And that makes me happy. I didn't do the work. They did the work. I just gave them the foundation. Now, that's not always the case. Not everybody makes $50 million selling on Amazon. But those are the really big superstars. And most people are more in the $500,000 to $1 million range, maybe a little bit more. But it can be life-changing for you. So that's why we're here. Now, I just got to say, I'm not the only source. There's a lot of people out there that will teach you how to sell on Amazon, and I encourage you to explore other options as well. Get the foundations from me, and then there's other people in the space that are actually smart too. But just be careful on any kind of YouTube videos or any kind of stuff that you see out there. A lot of it's outdated, or a lot of it's from people that are just trying to sell you something, and they don't know what they're doing. So you got to be really, really careful on that. Now, once you've gone through the Freedom Ticket and you've started selling and you got a little bit of experience under your belt, I would highly recommend you take a look at Helium 10 Elite, which is a monthly training program that I host, and I bring on guest speakers, and we do much higher level stuff, more tactical, higher level things. There's in-person meetups every quarter. There's a lot of other benefits, a special Facebook group, a lot of other stuff. That's Helium 10 Elite. So that's something that you could strive for down the road, but don't worry about that right now. You just focus on the core of the Freedom Ticket. So one of the things I want to tell you is that when you start this business, it's not a get-rich-quick type of scheme. Selling on Amazon takes time, it takes money, it takes wearing a lot of hats. So it's just, despite what you may see online where someone gives you some numbers and they say, you can get rich quick overnight, quit your job next month, that's not going to happen. Honestly, if you're working a job right now, you're probably going to need to keep working that job for another 6 months, a year, maybe even more, as you're getting this business going on the side at nights and on weekends. Now, if you're coming into this with a lot of money or you have a lot of experience already, you've been doing e-commerce or you've been doing something similar, you can cut that down and maybe you can focus full time on this. But for most people, this is a long-term play. Don't expect, if your goal is that I want to quit working for the man and start doing this and make my living doing this in the next 2 to 3 months, it's probably not going to happen because it takes time. This is a cash-intensive business. It takes time to get everything up and going. But I can tell you, some people, you see online and say, "Oh, selling on Amazon, that was so 2007 or 2017, or that's done. What's the next hot shiny object?" Selling on Amazon is still the best today. It's still the best business, period, hands down, ever created for mankind. I think it wasn't intentional by Amazon. It was it evolved, the way it's evolved. But there's this entire ecosystem now around selling on Amazon. And never before in the history of business, really, has someone been able to come in, me or you, sitting in our underwear in our house, and they actually be able to do millions of dollars in sales on a platform without a massive, massive investment or without having to grow this over years and years of time. This business has probably made more millionaires than any other business out there. And there's a lot of people that have made millions of dollars selling on Amazon. There's a lot of people that support themselves and their family as they continue to sell on Amazon. But Amazon is not done. When I started selling on Amazon in 2001, so many decades ago, it was a small little thing. And I might sell, in a course of a season on one of my products is wall calendars. In the course of a season, I might sell 400 units over a 4-month period. Now I can sell that in half a day. It's grown that much, and it's still growing. In fact, Marketplace Pulse just put something out just recently that they showed that the whole ecosystem on Amazon is $700 billion right now. And now that's their total gross merchandise value, GMV. So that's how much they're selling in total right now. That number is double what it was 4 years ago. So people are saying, oh yeah, the good old days. These are still good times. There's still a lot of opportunity, and Amazon is still growing. And what it means is you can just take a smaller piece of the pie and still make good money because it's growing. And out of that 700 million, about 500 million, or about 70% of that, are third-party sellers like me and you. It's not Amazon buying the products and then reselling them and paying you off an invoice. It's people like me and you deciding what we want to sell using tools like Helium 10, where the opportunities are, developing our own brand, and putting them on there. So the opportunity is not going away. It's still continuing to grow. Now, one of the things that makes Amazon really great is the margins you can get. Now, we'll talk about it a little bit later, the different ways you can sell on Amazon. There's a lot of different ways you can make money selling on Amazon. Probably the best way, and that's what the focus of this course is on private label. Private label is where you actually basically develop your own product. You either find a product and you re-engineer it or label it as yours, or you create something from scratch, and you're controlling the whole product, the whole brand, all the way through. Those margins can be anywhere from 20 to 40% if you do it right. But Amazon takes a big chunk of that. We're going to talk about that. And so they take their little piece too. So there's a lot of things that you got to do, or you can screw up and you won't have those margins. You'll be negative, and Amazon will be making money and you won't be making money. But that's what we're going to help you in this course. Make sure that you know everything that you need to know to do that properly. The infrastructure of Amazon is just crazy. I mean, there's nothing like it out there. Nobody can compete. People are like, oh, Amazon's not going to last. Walmart's going to take them over. TikTok Shop's going to take them over. I don't believe that to be the case anytime in our lifetime. unless some disastrous war or something happens. Amazon is so strong. They lost money for almost 20 years just building this infrastructure. Nobody can compete with that. And you get to take advantage of this multi-billion-dollar infrastructure to make money. And it's just an incredible opportunity. Now, some people say, like, one of the examples I like to give is a $5,000 investment. So if you've got $5,000 sitting around and you want to invest that, and if you put that in the stock market will typically return you over about a 3-year period, about 15% or so on average per year. So you might, with that, when that compounds over about a 3-year period, you might get that up to about 7,500 or something like that. So you basically add about 50% to that on that 5,000, which is a nice conservative thing, and that makes some people happy. But if you sell on Amazon, and just take the example of a $20 item, something you sell for $20 on Amazon, and let's just throw out some arbitrary numbers. For example, if it costs you $5 to actually source this product, maybe Amazon takes about $3 in fees for their commission. They take another $3 to fulfill it and ship it. You spend a little bit of money, a couple bucks in ads. You spend some more money in storage fees and some extra fees that Amazon charges. Adds up to about $3. That's about $15 out of your $20 that you just lost, basically. So you have a $5 profit per item. If you can get to just 10 sales per day on that item, which is not difficult to do in a lot of categories on Amazon, this is not a bestseller. This is not a runaway hit. This is just a kind of a run-of-the-mill, boring, average product selling 10 units a day. And you can organize your supply chain to where you can basically every 3 months you're ordering some more. So 4 times a year you're replenishing that. You're running out, or you're not running out, but you're getting close to running out, and you're resupplying it. That right there, you can start with about 1,000 units typically to order. Sometimes 500, sometimes 1,000, depending. But about 1,000 units in this example is all you need to order. So for that $5,000, at $5 a piece, you spend about $5,000. Over 3 years, that $5K on Amazon will turn into almost $55,000. That's more than 1,000% return on your investment. That's way better than the stock market. Now, could you lose that money? Absolutely. You may fail. Or the same thing can happen in the stock market too. But this is the type of opportunity if you do this right, and that's what I want to show you today. Now, there are alternatives to Amazon. You might hear, well, Amazon is, I hear people are crushing it on Shopify, which is called D2C or direct to consumer. And Shopify can be great, but and there's a lot of people that do really well there, but that's a whole different animal. That's a whole different way of marketing. You have to bring the eyeballs to your website versus Amazon is bringing the eyeballs to you on Amazon. So it's a whole different thing. You're using leverage when you're selling on Amazon much more than you are when you're selling on Shopify. It's a whole different animal. There's also, you probably have heard about TikTok Shop. There's great opportunities in TikTok Shop right now, but that's also a different way of selling. You've probably heard about Walmart. Helium 10 covers that. Carrie Miller's going to be talking about some of that later on in this course about how to sell on Walmart. There's some great opportunities there, but Walmart pales in comparison to Amazon. You also have probably heard about Etsy for like handmade stuff. Maybe some people talk about drop shipping. Those are all great, but what you need to focus on right away is just Amazon, I believe, because that's the best opportunity despite the competition, despite the naysayers that you may hear. It's still the greatest opportunity. Get that down, and then later on, if you want to expand, you can expand out and start doing some of those others after you get your feet wet and start learning a few things. Now, there's different ways to sell on Amazon. One of the ways is what's called FBA, or Fulfilled by Amazon. That means Amazon stores your stuff in their warehouses and they ship it to the customer. Most people out there that aren't selling on Amazon, they think that Amazon buys everything. They don't understand people like us. They don't understand that we're deciding what to send in. They just think Amazon's choosing what to sell and selling it. But when you do FBA, you take advantage of the entire system of Amazon, all their warehouses, all their distribution. And Amazon, people trust that. The customer trusts it. They get it sometimes in hours, usually in a day or two. That's the best way to sell. It's a little bit more expensive way, but Amazon's costs are such that you probably can't compete with them in most cases by trying to do it yourself. If you want to try to do it yourself, that's called FBM, or Fulfilled by Merchant. And that's where you do it yourself. In some cases, that might make sense if you're selling big refrigerators and you don't want to pay storage costs to get them into Amazon, or you're selling really small little jewelry things, little things you can put in an envelope, like little costume jewelry or something. That might make sense. But the downside to that is, even though it might save you on some of the cost, the customer doesn't trust it as much because they're like, who's this guy shipping it to me? It's not Amazon. Is it going to be a pain to return it? There's a balance that you gotta play off of there. And then there's something called, those two right there are called 3P, or third party selling. And that makes up that 500 billion of the 700 billion I said earlier. The other 200 billion is Amazon selling themselves. So they will actually act just like a store, just like a Walmart or a Kmart or your local grocery store. They will tell you, they'll send you a purchase order or a PO and say, send me 1,000 units. And out of those 1,000 units, when they sell them, they'll pay you 60 days. If you let them pay you early, they might give you a discount. That's a traditional retail model. But Amazon is slowly moving away from that because they realize they can make more money off of us selling the stuff, and it's less hassle for them in a lot of ways. So that's called the vendor or 1P program. There's different account types. You can have a professional account, which means you pay roughly $40 a month to sell on Amazon. You get a bunch of extra benefits. Or if you're just starting out, you can do what's called an individual account, where you don't pay the $40 a month, but you pay a little bit higher fee per transaction, and there's some other stuff. But most of you are going to want to do a professional account. FBA is still the best to focus on because of the scalability, because of the trust factors, because of that. That's where you really want to try to get into. Amazon, in fact, is the third largest search engine in the world. Only Google and YouTube get more searches than Amazon. So it's where people are going when they want to buy something. It's the default in most people's minds, especially in the Western world, of where they're going to go buy. And you want to just stand in front of that. It's basically like you're on a busy freeway and there's all these cars zipping by, and you just want to stand on the side of the road with your credit card machine, and as people drive by in their car, they're just swiping the credit card. It's kind of like what it's like selling on Amazon. If you know how to master that and how to figure out how the system works and how to make it to your advantage, and that's what we're going to teach you, you can do very well off of that. There's basically two important things that you got to master to be successful, and that's your product choice and that's your marketing. There's a lot of little nitty-gritty things, a lot of little details, but those two things, product choice and marketing, are the two number one things that you really need to master. If I add a third to that, it would be cash flow, knowing your numbers. If you can master those three things and get a grip on that, you're going to have the best chance of success selling on Amazon. Because honestly, about 95% of the people that try to sell on Amazon fail. Only about 5% actually succeed selling on Amazon. It's a low number. And why is that? It's because most of them don't know what they're doing. They just think that they throw something up, and it's going to sell. They can sit back and watch the cash register ring. It doesn't work that way. You got to know how to do it, and that's what Helium 10 and this course is here to show you how to do it and have a chance to be in that 5%. Now, another study that just recently came out from Marketplace Pulse shows that you might think, well, the people that have been selling longer have an advantage. But in fact, this is a pretty cool statistic. It shows that the opportunity is great for you, because when they did a linear curve of the sales on Amazon, the guys that have been selling like 20 years or more selling on Amazon, they make up about 5% of the sales of Amazon. The guys that have been selling less than a year make up another 5% of the sales. And then the guys that have been selling 1 to 20 years, they make up the rest. So that tells you there that's in balance. That's a really good balance. And so that means the opportunity is still really good, despite how fast it's growing and how many other competitors are coming in. The thing is, you want to start small and you want to scale up. So you don't want to go in hog wild. You want to get your feet wet. Your first products may not succeed. And so it may be a learning curve for you. So you don't want to blow all your cash on this first round, but go in with your eyes open and with enough money, and you can do well. If you do well, there are companies that will buy your business. So in this industry, there's what's called aggregators, there's what's called strategic buyers, there's private equity. So sometimes within a year to 2, 3 years, maybe 5 years, you might be able to exit this company for a lot of money, for millions of dollars. One of my friends in the business has exited 4 times, and each time they basically doubled their exit. So they started a company. He was working his full-time job in the medical field. She was a stay-at-home mom raising their 2 kids. They developed a product. After 3 years, they sold the business for about $4 million. They took that money, then they did it again. They invested some of it, saved some of it, put some away, and then they took some money, did it again in another category, Then they sold that one for 7 million. Then they did the next one for like 11 million, and then the next one for like 15 million. So you can get great leverage, just like in real estate or something, in this business of selling on e-commerce, because there are people out there that will buy it. And you might say, well, if I'm making so much money, why the heck would I sell it? It's because you can take a lot more money off the table when you sell than when you're running it. And it gives you almost like it's like a head start. It gives you a big jump in cash that allows you to then do it again and do it even bigger and multiply that. And we're going to talk about that in a lot more detail in one of the later modules in this course. There's about 40,000 or so people right now that are doing over $1 million in gross sales. That's not $1 million in profit. That's $1 million in gross sales on Amazon. So that's a lot of people that are doing 7 figures and up. The opportunities too is most people, this course is going to focus on Amazon US, but if you're selling in Europe or you're selling in Japan or Australia or the Middle East or somewhere else where Amazon is, a lot of these same principles apply, but everything we're speaking on is going to be about the US market. Once you've mastered the US, and that's where a lot of people choose to start because it is the biggest market by far, then you can expand out to Canada. You can expand out to the UK, to the Middle East, to Japan. There's great opportunities in Japan. And Helium 10 works on almost every single marketplace that's out there. So you're in good hands, and so what you learn here can be applied to multiple marketplaces, what you're going. So what Freedom Ticket and Helium 10 are truly your success tools, and you're in the right place. And so we want to give you the best chance to succeed on this. Now, you may be saying, hey, this all sounds great, Kevin, but I don't have a lot of money. How can I get started? And I don't have a lot of money. What are some of the other ways I can make some money while I'm trying to do this private label thing? Well, there's lots of ways. You can do what's called arbitrage, or you can do what's called KDP, or Kindle Direct Publishing, where you publish books, digital books. You can do merch, where you design T-shirts or coffee mugs, and Amazon will print them and fulfill them for you. Those are 3 different things you can do. You can do arbitrage, where people will go into dollar stores and they'll say, well, this thing of toothpaste is selling for $1 in the dollar store, but on Amazon it's $4. Or some hot toy at Christmas time is selling, the Big Lots down the street is dumping them, some old Monopoly game, but they're still selling on Amazon because somebody else in another part of the country doesn't have access to that game, and you can buy them and sell them for a markup. Or you can do that's retail arbitrage, or you can do online arbitrage, where you looking at Best Buy and you're finding differences. Those are a different model, but those are ways that you can start with just spending a little bit of money on your credit card and just kind of getting your feet wet. There's one of the best examples of arbitrage was during the pandemic. People were buying hand sanitizer. When hand sanitizer was flying off shelves, there's a guy drove around in a U-Haul truck and bought up like 17,000 bottles of hand sanitizer at different dollar stores all through Kentucky and Tennessee, and then sold it on Amazon at a markup. Now, you can't do price gouging. That'll get you in trouble. But that's an example of arbitrage, because he figured out where the supply was and then gave it to where the demand was. So he was able to make some money doing that. The book publishing is another thing. You may have seen a bunch of people online talking about you can use AI to publish books on Amazon. Be careful of all that stuff. You get a lot of people saying, here's a get rich quick. I made $4,000 selling these travel guides. There's a lot of problems with that, so just be very careful on that one. The print on demand, like I said, is really good. You can do wholesale. There's a lot of people that specialize in wholesale up in Brooklyn, and there's one zip code, in fact, in Brooklyn. It's that does about 7% of all the sales worldwide on Amazon, and most of those guys are wholesale people, and they're really good at buying things at a good price and then flipping them, brand name stuff. That's a whole different business model, and typically the margins are a little bit lower. It's a little bit tougher, but they've mastered it and they've become really good at it. I would recommend that you actually go with private label for a lot of reasons we're going to talk about later on the future sellability of the company. But wholesale can be a way if you to get in, and there's people that have good cash flow selling wholesale. Drop shipping, Amazon doesn't really like drop shipping. Drop shipping is where you don't take possession of the items. You just work out a deal with, say it's a furniture company, and you say, I'll put this couch up on Amazon for you, but you ship it for me. Just kind of blindly ship it. Don't put your name on the box. Put some generic name, or put my name on the invoice and make it look like it's coming from me. That's called drop shipping, and you don't ever take possession of the items. You typically don't pay for it until it's sold, so you can cash flow that way. But Amazon doesn't really like that, So be careful if you're doing that. There's some risk in that. Affiliate marketing is another way that people make money, where they will have a website or a blog and they'll say, these are the 7 best new iPhone cases of 2026 or whatever. And they will actually all have affiliate links. So a little link with a special code in that goes back to Amazon, and Amazon gives you, it's small nowadays, anywhere from 1.5% to 4 or 5%, depending on the item. They give you a little commission off of that. And if someone else add something else into their cart at the same time, you make a little commission off of that too. There's influencers that are making money. They're creating videos on Amazon listings, and they're getting a little cut if someone ends up buying the product after seeing the video. There's influencers that have social media followings that are setting up affiliate links, or they're getting paid by people to come in. If you got a big social media presence, you could maybe charge someone $100, $200, $500, maybe more. If you're Kim Kardashian, $1 million and plus to actually mention their product and maybe get a commission off the back or profit sharing. So there's a lot of things like that. There's an entire ecosystem that's popped up around selling on Amazon that didn't exist when I first started. There were very little tools. Helium 10 didn't exist. There were very little tools, but now there's this entire ecosystem. There's probably literally thousands of tools. There's software, there's companies that have come up that specialize in just accounting for Amazon sellers, or just legal issues for Amazon sellers, or just how to create better pictures for Amazon sellers. There's this entire ecosystem that has come up. There's agencies that stepped in, like, you want to learn how to do advertising and something, we'll take care of it for you. There's a whole ecosystem around it. And I encourage you, at some point, you're probably going to be using or meeting or encountering some of these, and some of them you might want to use. But if you know the basics, it's going to give you an advantage to actually deal with them and talk to them and tell them what you want and guide them in the right way. And that's what we're going to try to do here in the Freedom Ticket for you. The best way to build, like I said, in this business, there's no doubt, is private label. Private label is the best way. It's got the highest profit margin, typically between about 20 and 40% if you do things right, where versus wholesale is more like 10% if you do things right. The other ones, they can vary on the profit margins, but the advantage of private label is you own the brand. This is your product. So you're creating IP, or intellectual property. You own this brand. You're not selling someone else's and piggybacking off of them, which can be a great way, like I said, if you just are trying to start. But you own this brand. It becomes an asset. And the way you get rich is by owning assets that make you money while you sleep, not by working for someone else or piggybacking off of somebody else. You can make cash flow. You can make your rent and stuff. But if you want to create generational wealth for your family or for you, the way to do it is private label, hands down, by owning the brand, by coming up with something that's differentiated, not just the same old Me Too kind of thing. And one day you could have a huge payday. And that's what we're going to try to show you how to do here in the Freedom Ticket. Welcome again.